Yeah, we got to talk about Multiversus's monetization because this is basically Battlefront 2 all over again. The reviews right now are sitting at mixed from 11,792 recent reviews, and it's not just the monetization, it's also all of the features that this game is missing in its final release from the beta. A lot of people are saying this feels more like a beta than the beta. And there's an extensive list right here that highlights all of the ways that the final release of Multiversus is a step back from the beta. Gameplay aspects, removed features, removed modes, no offline play, no more co-op versus AI, no free-for-all mode with items. And then there's the fact that you can't try out characters anymore in training, or you can't use characters in local play, whereas in the beta, you could do that. You can actually test out the characters before you decide whether you want to actually spend money on them or grind for them, and we'll talk about grind in a minute. There's the economy and progression. It used to be that, you know, you could just kind of play the game and progress that way, but now everything is tied to challenges, kind of like how Halo Infinite was, and we all know how well that went, so on and so forth. And then regressions when it comes to settings and options that are no longer there. It's just a less feature complete package, which, you know, you're wondering how is that possible for a 1.0 release compared to the beta. Here we have another list from another user, and there's posts like this all over the subreddit right now with people just not being okay with this, especially for how much they're demanding from players to unlock characters in terms of both grind and money. And that is where the big issue resides. Now, before we get to that, I do want to highlight that Tony Huyn, who is the game director of Multiversus, did put out a statement that might give us an explanation as to why Multiversus 1.0 is in the state that it is. And it seems as though it has to do with them essentially taking the game into Unreal Engine 5, which is, you know, a monumental task, and them not being given enough time to fully make that transition and implement all of the features from the beta. Essentially, it seems like it was the publisher mandate of having to release the game by a certain deadline and not allowing them to have, you know, all the time they need to ensure that this is a fleshed out product for a 1.0 release. So Tony put out the following tweet: "Thank you for the feedback. The team is hard at work on it being all of the issues, problems, and regressions that players have been pointing out. Some of the missing settings and features from the open beta are incoming," says Tony. "Team colors, end of game stats, swapping side and neutral attack, adjustable input buffer settings, etc. More info soon." No word on things like missing modes like co-op versus AI or offline play or free-for-all mode with items and other elements like being able to use characters in training, ones that you haven't unlocked in training or in local gameplay. But hopefully all of that's coming soon as well. He also said many of these features are currently implemented and are in testing, and we had planned, but we were left out due to time as we had to rebuild every screen and feature again to support our new netcode and Unreal Engine 5 switch. Thanks again. I hope some of this context is helpful. Basically, it comes down to they should have delayed the game, but they didn't, and it's usually not up to the developers. It's usually up to the publisher. And so without the inability to delay, and them having to make the game work in Unreal Engine 5 and all of the work that that involves, you know, it does explain a lot. And perhaps it's safe to bet that the publisher is also on some level responsible for why the monetization is as scummy as it is right now. So somebody pointed out on Twitter that Multiversus has a total of 26 characters, but only 5 are available at launch. Shaggy is the only character you can always use, and the other 4 essentially rotate. It's a bit like League of Legends if you haven't bought any characters. And then it reads right here, in any case, each character will cost 1,000 Gleamium, basically $10 each. So if you want to fast track your way towards unlocking all the characters, you'd have to essentially dish out about $250. Or you could grind for these characters, but that will cost you time. A lot of time. In response to somebody trying to defend the cost of these characters and the way they're unlocked and the way they're priced, somebody did the math and really highlighted just how scummy the grind is, to the point where you basically have to spend money on this game. The gameplay path is so unreasonable and insufferable that it's just not viable to not pay in this game. So YDo tweeted, "It takes 38 plus hours of PvP gameplay to unlock a single new character in Multiversus past the first ones. After roughly 100 minutes of 2 versus 2s, I gained 130 fighter currency. That's 78 fighter currency per hour. Most fighters cost 3,000. But then there's certain characters who are more premium priced, like Joker, who costs 6,000 fighter currency. So that would take 77 hours to unlock just this one character alone. Why do aptly said right here, stop defending this? Which, yeah, how do you defend this? This is actually worse than Star Wars Battlefront 2 when it comes to hours required to grind for certain characters. Remember when EA said, oh, this is all about a sense of pride and accomplishment? So help me God if Warner Brothers comes out with a similar statement. What this really is just paywalling characters, because it is so unreasonable that it might as well be a paywall. 77 hours to unlock a single character, one as desirable as Joker, is an absolute joke. Other ways to unlock content in Multiversus is the Battle Pass. Back in the good old days of the beta, there used to be a free track and a premium track. Now there's just one Battle Pass track. And if you try to grind your way through it, well, good luck trying to get to the end. Here's a Reddit user who highlighted how it seems impossible for anyone to get to tier 80 in the Battle Pass in 52 days. Based on this user's experience, the math that he did, and the rate at which he's been progressing, he kind of estimated that you can get basically one Battle Pass level per day. There's 80 levels and you have 52 days. It's just not reasonable. And that's one Battle Pass level per day if you really dedicate yourself to this game and make it your full-time job. And that math, by the way, may be outdated because some people are reporting that they're noticing that rifts now give less XP, and this is a post from 13 hours ago, so apparently there's an update that recently came out that reduced the XP output from the activities that you partake in, so they might actually be making the grind worse. Here's somebody else highlighting how this game just doesn't seem to respect players' times at all, noting that they have 28 hours on record on Steam, and they've only reached level 2 on the Agent Smith Battle Pass. You need level 20 to get him. How does anyone have the time for this? That's the idea. Nobody actually does. It's a way to strong arm you into spending money, because it's the only way to reasonably have fun with this game, to reasonably unlock the content in this game that makes the game worth playing. And it's likely no coincidence that all this coincides with the fact that you no longer get XP or any kind of reward for just playing the game. Again, a lot of progression now happens by completing challenges and the like. It's all about doing dailies and weeklies and rifts and whatnot, but just like playing the game and doing some matches, none of that gets you any sort of reward whatsoever, a regression from how it was in the beta, one that seems rather intentional. Here's somebody else begging the developers to please allow us to level up the Battle Pass by just playing. They get through the dailies and weeklies pretty easily, and after that, they just get no rewards from playing all these matches. You know, they're enjoying the game, but they're not rewarded for enjoying the game, so it's just really demoralizing. And then adding insult to injury is that certain weekly bonus missions require you to have characters that are locked behind ridiculous grind, or of course if you pay $10 to unlock the character. So right here we have a weekly bonus mission involving the Joker, hit with the Joker's bazooka, except the Joker is locked behind a 77-hour grind, or you can fast track that by paying $10. And because you can no longer test characters that you haven't unlocked in training or local play, you won't know if your purchase or your grind will be worthwhile. You won't know if that's a character that you actually want to invest in. And then for some people, the situation got really bad when they realized that booting up the re-release version of Multiversus, they saw all of the characters and variants they had unlocked suddenly vanish with the release of 1.0, which should not happen. I don't think this is something that's universal, but enough people are reporting this that it's becoming a concern, especially given the amount of money and grind that this game demands. They don't want to go through all that again, obviously. And then beyond that, the Multiversus subreddit is full of complaints about missing features and modes like free-for-all, the fact that final damage and KOs, like this, all of these stats and elements are no longer in the game, which Tony did promise they were working on to add into the game sometime after launch with a post-launch patch. The fact that character portraits are even worse. I mean, this is how they used to look with this awesome 2D art, and now it's just very generic and flat looking. You've got the fact that just the character select screen by itself just looks so much better in the beta. This is the beta, which looks cool, and then this is the final game, which looks so just generic. Certain characters are still broken. I mean, look at this, how you can stun lock people to the point where it just makes the game unplayable if somebody manages to become expert enough with a character to be able to pull stuff like this where it just breaks the character and the game. I mean, this is just unreasonable. Super Smash Brothers would not allow for something like this. That game is much better balanced. Same with LeBron here. You can see right here the way you can just stun lock enemies with the right combination of moves, and it just, I mean, it's ridiculous. Yeah, the character is just broken, unbalanced, and that's another area where they need to really sort things out. There's also bugs that people have encountered. This clip right here is hilarious. So this is Bugs Bunny just stuck on a cliff with his booty out, and just Superman giving him quite the pounding there. It's hilarious, but obviously when you're trying to actually have a proper match and are trying to win, something like this is obviously very frustrating. So yeah, Multiversus has just a lot of kinks to work out if it intends to maintain its player base and not have it suffer the fate that it did during its beta, where you saw like a pretty good launch and, you know, good player numbers at launch, but that sank pretty quickly and delved into the triple digits and eventually double digits. Now we're back to, you know, the tens of thousands of players, but already I'm seeing a downwards trend. And if they intend to maintain this game as a long-term live service that can compete with the likes of Super Smash Brothers and Brawlhalla and not suffer this kind of decline, it has to work on its shit ASAP. And if it does decline and fail, well, Warner Brothers, this is what you get for rushing the game out before I had a chance to implement all of the features, by not giving developers the chance to make it at least as good as the beta, though obviously with a 1.0 release, it should be better than the beta, more feature complete, not less feature complete. And yeah, well, if this game crashes and burns, I hope it's worth it, Warner Brothers, and I hope the egregious and aggressive monetization that's going to turn a lot of people off is worth it for the short term, when you could have profited long term had you just done better by the customers, is kind of where I'm sitting at. Hopefully, though, Tony and team managed to really spruce this game up and managed to just get it to a place where it should be, and they need to get on that fast, because otherwise I think the decline will be pretty substantial and steep and severe and quick. And, you know, a lot of people want this game to thrive. You know, we want more games like this, and it is a cool concept. Warner Brothers characters coming together into one universe, like, the novelty of that is there. It's just you still need a good game with a good monetization system, with a sense of progression and reward that doesn't feel just like it's trying to squeeze money out of you. It needs to be polished, it needs to be balanced, it needs all the features that a game like this should have. And you know, they need to look at what Super Smash Brothers is doing, what it gets right, and just, you know, make sure players get that with this game. Or at the very least, that's one man's take. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on the current state of Multiversus. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.